Stuart, but we can go ahead and kind of get started and run through our things we need to do here at the beginning to get going. Hopefully he'll join in before the end. So, all right, there we go. So I will read our preamble. Notwithstanding any provision in the EDA bylaws to the contrary as permitted under Albemarle County's Continuity of Government Ordinance, Chapter 1283 of the 2020 Acts of the General Assembly, and the resolution of this body adopted on April 21, 2020, we are holding this meeting by real-time electronic means with no authority member physically present in a single central location. All authority members are participating electronically. This meeting is being held in accordance with Section 6 of the county's Continuity of Government Ordinance. All authority members will identify themselves and state their general physical location by electronic means during the roll call, which we will hold next. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the county's website. The public has real-time audiovisual access to this meeting over Zoom and real-time audio access over telephone, both as provided in the lawfully posted meeting notice. The public is also invited to offer live comment during the meeting's public comment period. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and must be germane to matters on today's agenda. The public is also invited to send questions, comments, and suggestions to the authority through the county's Economic Development Office at any time. All right. Richie, you want to call the roll?
I will do it. Let's see. Director Long.
Present in the city of Charlottesville.
Director Munson.
Not
Let's
here.
see. Director Ray.
I'm here in Albemarle
George.
County.
Director Shreve.
Present in Albemarle County.
All right. And Director Imhoff
Present in Albemarle County.
and Director McNaughton.
Present in Troy, Virginia.
Let's see. And Supervisor McKeel.
I am
No, she-
in beautiful downtown Jack Jewett Magisterial District.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right. Thinking that maybe, Jennifer and I need to go around and like I could read that off and she could film me in different parts of the county. That way it's not me just sort of reading off and it'll be a more entertaining presentation. Is there anybody signed up to speak in matters from the public?
Not currently. Nobody has raised their hand. No.
All right, then we'll move on. Approval of the minutes. Are there any comments on the minutes?
I started reading them last Thursday. I haven't finished them yet. These are some minutes, dude.
Yeah, you're doing a good job with that, Jennifer. They're very detailed.
Yeah, I appreciated that. And so I will move for approval.
Is there a second?
I read War and Peace quicker than these things.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 All right, the minutes are approved. Financial report. Mr. Treasurer.
Yes. Only a small change in our status from the time of the last meeting. We added interest earnings of $314.31 and incurred legal fees of $225. So our cash position changed by a whopping $89.31 overall. As we saw the last time, see if I can find the document. I can give you the exact overall cash position. As of 2/28/21, our ending cash and cash equivalent position, $719,476.12, which includes $31,391.10 net revenues from the current fiscal year.
Great. Thank you. Any comments or questions on the financial report?
I'll move approval.
All right, is there a second?
Second,
Second, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
That's.
Everybody waves.
Unanimous approval there.
Well done.
All right, so new business. Our first is a presentation by Rebecca Hayduck from the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center. So Roger, you want to do the introduction? I'm happy to do
Well,
it.
Don, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having audio and computer issues. I'm glad that is in fact the case. I think it's important that I provide some context before Rebecca speaks to you.
Okay.
So about 3 years ago, we went through a strategic planning exercise. As you know, as Project Enable was the result of that. During that analysis, we did a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats type exercise, as well as looked at all the existing business support. At that particular time, we learned that the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center was providing resources and support for our existing small businesses. As a result, when we presented to the Board of Supervisors, we did not recommend any staff or funding per se in-house to provide those level of services for small businesses in the community. We did not want to be redundant, and we want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. As such, we decided that for Albemarle County, Central Virginia Small Business Development Center would provide support to the small businesses in our community. As such, we provide funding directly to Central Virginia Small Business Development Center. They also get matching funding from the federal government, and they do a host of activities to help our small businesses. And Rebecca's about to share those with you. I will say, and she may reiterate this, that Albemarle County is by far and away the biggest user of the Sbdc in terms of volume, in terms of counseling sessions, in terms of folks who participate in webinars. So we gain a large percentage of support from this particular organization. And so when she talks to you about what they do, I would like you to think about Rebecca as a partner of ours. While she's not a staff member, she does the work that you may find in some economic development offices around the U.S. for Albemarle County. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce a colleague and friend, Rebecca Hayduck, and I'm sure she can take it from here. Rebecca?
Well, thank you for that introduction. And hi, it's nice to see several of you, which I know pretty well. A couple of you are new to me, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run through what's going on at the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center, because even if you were familiar with it a year or more ago, in response to the pandemic, and as a result of us just digging up resources and expanding partnerships, things have changed quite a bit. So I'm going to do a screen share and go through a PowerPoint. Can you all see this all right?
Yep.
Good enough? Okay. So as Roger mentioned, we think of ourselves as your organization. And of course, I'll get into the numbers where you'll see that we are, at least half of what we do is in and for Albemarle County. And if you include the city of Charlottesville, it's well more than half. And we do have a large territory, but what I'll do is quickly run through sort of the big picture of what is the Sbdc, how do we see ourselves, what were the numbers in 2020, a little bit more about the team, an example of a few Albemarle clients, and then I'll talk to you about the growth that we've experienced as well as the financial implications of that growth. So we view ourselves and are being told by the community that they view us as trusted partners in business. Our services are hands-on advising that is free of charge, thanks to Albemarle County, SBA, as Roger mentioned, and other regional partners. We bring resources and talent to entrepreneurs to empower them so they can achieve their goals. Our goals are very similarly aligned to economic development goals, create jobs, strengthen businesses, and make our communities a special place to live. In case you haven't heard about our numbers, because we've been talking about them a lot, I think mostly because we're in shock. We went from, in 2019, the office did, under 1,000 hours in in direct consulting time. If you can see here, this is what happened in 2020. We were over 3,200 hours, and that was with about a 1/3 budget increase. We also were around 150, 160 clients. We did 423 last year. So we've been incredibly busy. The County of Albemarle makes up for a large portion of that. I actually pulled the percentages out here. If you look at clients, exact clients, and none of this includes event attendees either, of which there were over 1,000 last year. We had about 44% coming from Albemarle County, 57% of our counseling was Albemarle County. And I know that Charlottesville and Albemarle are separate in terms of municipalities, but I popped their numbers in here because we are all part of the same neighborhood. And if you put it together, Charlottesville and Albemarle, it's a huge part of what we do. 61% of our clients, as well as 73% of our counseling hours. And you can also see the numbers in terms of capital formation were very large. Jobs retained was also a big number. And of course, you know, some of this had to do with the CARES Act, but there were a number of investments, business purchases, business sales as well. Our territory has grown as well. We were 6 regions. We are now 10. We are almost the exact same footprint as Region 9. There is a second office, which is in Culpeper. The staff that serves all of this, I am the only full-time person. We are about to hire, thanks to a Go Virginia grant that was approved today. We're very excited. We're going to get our first ever full-time business counselor. That will be in the form of an assistant director. Our office staff also, we have a office manager and client services coordinator, a part-time events coordinator, and David Reardon runs the Culpeper office. This group of terrific people are all of our contract counselors. They are business and technical experts. They used to work between 2 and 4 hours a week, and there were only 4 of them. Now these folks are working anywhere from 10 to 25 hours a week as a result of the pandemic. We also have additional partners. The Virginia Small Business Development Center, the statewide center, has a number of experts that we access free of charge. We have and these are just a few of them, but I wanted to highlight these folks because these we work with frequently. We have a robust international trade program. Aaron Miller's the director. In fact, I'm getting certified in international trade because we have so many Charlottesville and Albemarle companies that needed this help. We're meeting frequently. We have a craft beverage expert. This is the person that has put on the food and beverage cohort, which I'll talk about. The International Commercialization Assistance Program is an Sbdc program. That's ICAP. If you're familiar with ICOR, ICAP is the other version of that people need to take if they want to get certain research dollars. It also helps them with customer discovery. We have a retail and restaurant consultant that has come to town to visit. We have a cybersecurity expert. Government contracting has become a big part of what we're doing. We actually did 15 government contracting programs last year, and they were all well attended. People are looking at that as another market, as well as you all know, there's an increasing need for SWAM certification, and that is done through these offices. And of course, none of this would have happened without Community Investment Collaborative. They took over the Sbdc in January of last year. I can't say, with any more emphasis, other than saying I could have never done it without Stephen Davis. He's been phenomenal. We've been able to grow and deal with this incredible onslaught of need, thanks to Stephen, as well as all of the supportive partnership in the community. But Stephen has really helped us pull it together. I feel like we came into their organization like a giant toddler and made a big mess because we had so much going on so fast, and they just helped us tremendously, keeping with this crazy pace. We've also built a number of programs and partnerships. We did almost 60 training programs last year. A number of them were specific to the CARES Act, but we immediately started doing marketing for online communications for businesses. These are some of the more popular ones: managing your WordPress website, UVA Propel program, which put 300 UVA students that lost their internships to work in the community. Online marketing and communications programs. I think we ran this 2 or 3 times in Albemarle County, helping people build their capability statement, passport to global markets. The food and beverage cohort, which we just announced last Friday, there are 3 companies from Albemarle County that made it into that cohort. We had a total of 5 for our entire region, and 3 of them were yours. So that's pretty exciting. We've also got some new partnerships at the Sbdc, which have grown very strong in this past year. We are starting a new pitch preview and pitch practice program with Charlottesville Angel Network, where people will get to present to actual angels for feedback. We've been helping UVA procurement make it easier for people to understand how to do business with UVA. And we've hosted a couple of programs for them. And of course, we've worked quite a bit with Career Services, making their programs available to entrepreneurs and making it easier for folks to access their talent. We've worked with Gen Edge to help people with engineering and logistics. Of course, Charlottesville Regional Chamber of Commerce, we had Pro Tip Tuesday all last year, every month a new program and a new topic. And we work closely with Charlottesville Business Innovation Council, UVA in a number of avenues, and Seville BioHub. A few of the things that are unique to this for the Central Virginia Sbdc are some research tools that we use. We have SBDCnet, IBIS World, and ProfitSense. These are all free of charge to any business. It's incredible research to understand and identify customers, if your financials are on track. Of course, the International Trade Program, ICAP that I mentioned, we use Growth Wheel. This just outlines some of the things that are specific and that we don't pay for. This is an asset that comes to our community at no charge to us. And this is largely available because of the SBA, who is the base funder of the organization. We are a member of the National America's Sbdcs, and the Virginia State Office runs out of George Mason University, who supports them. And of course, our primary support comes from Community Investment Collaborative as our fiscal sponsor and host. We've grown. The numbers went from actually around 850. This is the fiscal year in 2019 to 3,200 in 2020. With the addition of another business counselor, we're going to get up around 4,000. We're also busting at the seams for space. We are going to have 12 people once we hire this assistant director. We may be getting a full-time ICAP mentor for this region. And we are having more need for trainings in our space. So this just gives you an idea of some of the reasons why we're busting out a little bit. I wanted to show you a few clients that are Albemarle clients that gave us permission to share their information. Valente Pasta has been in or actually they were in the city of Charlottesville since 1982, and they have doubled in size and need to quadruple in size. And Roger's office was phenomenally helpful, and we really struggled to find space for them. They are going to be moving into Albemarle County, and they've gotten an immense amount of support from a number of partners, including the county. Delaney Products was referred to us by Roger's office, by Jennifer. We were so happy to meet him. He had questions on PPP, and it turns out they've been in business since 1900. And we were able to help them not only with the CARES Act, but with the government contracting work that they had been trying to break into for a long time. They've made great strides there. They went through our international trade program and are making strides there as well. We connected with them with some marketing experts, which are helping them promote their products. And they are a huge innovator. They've got some products that are first in class nationally. Several that had patents that have now expired, and a lot of the bigger companies are copying them. And then there's a company like Khadijah's Kitchen. This is a small caterer that did not have a website. This was a case study that we went through before we came to you with the proposal for the website Jumpstart. And Khadijah now is connected on Grubhub. Her business is growing as a result of having online capabilities. So that's been a really exciting story as well. And I wanted to just show you what's changed financially for us. When I first came on board, April last year, we had a budget of about 180,000. That was the budget originally as well for 2020, but then we got CARES Act funding. That helped us make those technical hires that we needed right away, and folks that could help people get online, do their record keeping and bookkeeping to apply for grants, as well as a few other counselors and expanded business counseling. Since then, we applied for the Go Virginia grant. That is allowing us to hire the assistant director and also launch this digital resiliency program, which we can talk about. This is my last slide, so I wanted to give you all a chance to ask questions about that, and I believe you all know it well. And as well, we have to find some office space because we have nowhere to put bodies. So we're looking at expanding our office space a little bit. And we expect that into 2022, we're going to need to maintain that. Or we're going to start losing technical experts and business experts. And by the way, coming into 2021, we're taking on clients at an even faster pace than we did in the second quarter of 2020. So we're not seeing any signs of slowing. And I just wanted to note here that in March of 2022, that is when we do see a funding cliff. We do have funding that will take us through until then, and we're working on what the options will be for that. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and open it up to questions.
Rebecca, before you do, could you just speak a little bit about the digital resiliency project that's coming up between us and the city, and it'll save me some speaking a little bit later on.
Sure. And if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and share the webpage for that. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this came out of course, we've been doing courses and work on e-commerce with people ever since the beginning of the pandemic. The first hire that I made was an e-commerce expert, formerly from Silicon Valley, and he was doing website health checks for people. And at least 2 times a week, he was being asked for help on the website. And a lot of these businesses could not afford the $1,000 to $3,000 or $5,000 necessary to build a website or improve their existing website. And we just didn't have the budget for it. So we started thinking about how can we inexpensively put together a program. And under Cameron Nelson's leadership, who is our e-commerce expert, we decided that if we had a certain number of templates and we really set it up very efficiently, we could put together websites for under $800 each with a WordPress developer. And we chose WordPress because as these companies grow, if they multiply several times in size, WordPress can grow with them. And we can train them in that. So thanks to Roger and Chris at the city, we have already launched this program. We called it Website Jumpstart. And what we're offering is a 3 to 5 page website. You'll see here the summary. We provide a simple video because they have to have one, and that can be launched on social media. If they need a simple logo, we do that. Up to 5 items on e-commerce if they're selling, or we'll help them set up to a shopping cart like Grubhub, which is what we did with Khadijah's Kitchen, connect to payment system. And we also help them with their initial press release and social media launch, so they can not only get the site built, but let the world know that it's there. We have highlighted here as well, what are the things that we won't do? And of course, we're going to talk to them from a business perspective and make sure that they have the cash flow necessary. They do need about $200 to maintain that website. And then the objective is, because we're not in the business of building websites, the objective is that they improve cash flow, and then they can go out into the private sector and maintain those websites and hopefully grow them and have more pages and more products.
Thanks, Rebecca. I just, before we open to questions, just a couple of comments. One, I think that the website program you're talking about, that was one of the surprising things that came out of that survey that that was done. And it's nice to see you guys taking the information from our business survey and implementing something that's helping people, because that's exactly what we need to be doing. So I think that's great. I'll just put in a plug for Rebecca. She and I have worked together for a while. We've known each other through the Charlottesville Angel Network, and then she's worked with a client of mine, and we've had joint clients together, and she does a great job and has really, really put her effort behind this and really pushes things along. And I think she's doing a great job. So with that, I'll throw it open to questions.
I'm afraid to come off video, but I'd love to hear a little bit more, Rebecca, about how do you get the word out? Because you have such a wonderful array of services. You know, how do people find out about what's available?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. Well, one of the first things we did was we built a website because we didn't have one coming into this. And that website, the traffic has increased phenomenally. But upon taking the job, reached out to everyone I could think of that helps small businesses. So the chambers help promote what we do. Of course, Jennifer, JT, Roger promote what we do, the city, all of the partners. You know, Sbdc, UVA puts us, when we have programs, they put it on their list. So we'll get their entrepreneurs. I have a list, I think I have 83 on my, what I call my community partners list. And it includes people like Dawn, Flora Pettit, Woods Rogers, Hansman Weeble, folks, you know, bankers, folks that are working in the community. And I still haven't met so many people. My list is, you know, small in comparison, but with folks like Roger's office, you know, the information gets out there. Everybody's newsletters, I guess, is the answer.
Thanks.
Anything else? Dave?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I too, I'm really impressed with the array of services and your partnerships, and glad to know that you and Stephen and his crew are working hand in hand. That seems like a really great relationship. I just have a couple of small questions about operations going forward, and one has to do with the grant, the Go Virginia grant. What did the grantors say about your use of the funds, putting them, I don't know what percentage, but largely toward the assistant director position? And I'm assuming that you want to keep that position.
Yes.
Going forward. What did they say about that? Did they offer any recommendations? Was that a sticking point in the grant application, or were they?
No, they realized we needed capacity building. They know that we've been, you know, we're burning the candle at both ends and then some. So, and we just needed more bandwidth, because you know, the numbers more than doubled, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's clear there's no slowing, and we only had a 1/3 budget increase. So we were just killing ourselves trying to take care of everyone. And of course, we'd like to spend more time with companies, right? Because there is such a great need. And we had a number of clients, we just problem solve and out the door. But there's so much more work that we could do. And they wanted us to have the capacity to do that. So, yeah. And they were really happy about the fact that it serves a whole region, right? Because what we do, we develop a lot of these programs in Charlottesville and Albemarle, but they're available to all of the municipalities. And so it's really great that, especially with this format and Zoom, right? We can share everything now so easily.
Is there a chance that you would go back to them, or did they make the grant with the understanding that it would, you know, give you a couple of years to figure out how to finance that going forward?
This is just for a year, this capacity building grant. And of course, the digital resiliency part of it, which is that WordPress developer, I expect that will go away, but we'll see if there's, you know, additional need. But no, it really is set up for a year, and it's on us to then, if we don't get additional funding, that was that cliff that I mentioned. That was that $130,000 cliff.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, if we don't get that, then we would have to pare back on some of the other business counselors and maybe some of the technical experts.
Regarding the website development and the WordPress advice, and I see the way you described it as kind of a jumping off starting point. You're not going to help them maintain websites, but it's just to, get things started. What's the demand like for that service so far?
We know, so this initial program that Roger and Chris and you all funded is for 24 websites. We have more than 30 in the pipeline, and we just opened it.
I see.
It's massive. It is absolutely massive.
What do you anticipate happening with that, say, in the next year or two? Do you think it'll double, triple, or continue moving along at the same pace? Any idea?
So I'll tell you, and you all may disagree with me. I've been bumping around Charlottesville, as I've, said to Roger, for like 14 years, helping businesses, but as an investor, right? And I had not really run across the Sbdc because the Sbdc was working primarily on Main Street businesses and largely just in Charlottesville and Albemarle. Word is out, right? We are the local SBA affiliated office, and now SBA is a household name that's being talked around the kitchen table. So I don't know what we're going to do, because I know it's never going to go back to what it was, especially now that we've unearthed all of these incredible assets and people know we have an international business program. They know that we can help them raise equity capital for their innovation company. These are things that the Sbdc was not known for before. And more of the Main Street businesses know that we're here and that we can help them tap into grants and bank financing and, right? I have no idea, but I know it's not going to slow down. Okay. I think it's just going to get bigger.
I was curious about just the web development piece, not necessarily.
Sorry.
Services.
So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The grant accounts for another 90 websites, the
Okay.
one that we were granted today. But again, we have a large area to cover.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure how many people, we do have to hire another WordPress developer. We just hired one before we can really get that rolling. I'm not sure how much of that we can handle.
Well,
Right.
I suspected as much, and I'm wondering if you might consider something like a middle tier or a lesser tier of service in that regard. It sounds like the folks you're helping didn't know where to start, and you kind of did that for them, and then taught them a little bit about how they might maintain it going forward. I do a lot of this work with nonprofits, and I've found that there are plenty of folks like that, but there are also some who can actually manage a Squarespace or a WordPress website development tool if you just give them a real quick refresher or introduction that may be something short of what you're already offering. And I'm wondering if you couldn't tap like the chamber for pro bono service at that tier and leave the more extensive work to what you're already doing. And maybe then you could persist in keeping that service without letting people wait in line for the service.
Yeah, well, and we are now every 2 weeks offering a program, how to manage your WordPress website. And we do go through, it is a 1-hour training, and we still are taking one-on-ones with our e-commerce and marketing folks for that little bit of help, not the full-blown, you don't even have a place to start.
Oh,
right?
Good.
Yeah.
Director Shreve, I might add this, that Rebecca's mentioned that there's funding for 24 websites. Both the city and our economic development office thought we would take a time out at the creation of 24 websites, poll the folks who received the service, make sure they found that it was valuable and they got the service that they needed. We do have additional funding earmarked to support this in a longer range plan if this program is successful.
Oh, good. Thanks, Roger.
Any other questions, comments? Rebecca, anything else on your end you want to add?
I don't think so. I just would love to hear from any of you anytime if you have some thoughts you want to share or you're aware of some business needs.
I have a couple comments I'd like to make. I think it was implicit in what Rebecca was saying, but when she talks about counseling sessions, that's a wide array. Website's just a portion of it. She does financial acumen, debt consolidation, strategic planning, writing a business plan. The amount of support that's provided by the Sbdc varies in complexity based off of the needs of the individual businesses that come in there. So she sort of lumped all that information together, but she serves all the needs of small businesses in a variety of ways, not just in the complex ways that we talked about today. And I want to echo what Don said. Rebecca has been invigorating to the Sbdc here locally, has given it greater standing in our community. And so while certainly there's more needs for small businesses in our community because of the pandemic, a lot of the reason there's more demand has to do with the quality service that's being provided.
Well, thank you, Roger. Yeah, I guess what I do want to say is it's been quite an experience, right? When Stephen first talked to me about this, I wasn't sure about the Sbdc because I really didn't know what was there. And then when I dug in and I saw what are the assets, who are the people, how is this supported, and also realized what a great community we have here and how supportive folks are, I thought, oh my gosh, there's an opportunity to really support the business community here, especially with CIC. And it seems limitless to me, right? We're still running into people who don't have any idea that these services are there. The ones that know it well. And, even today we had, which I should talk about this side of the spectrum. I have a tech company. We have two. One just raised, $1.7 million. And I had another conversation today. We're about to close on $1 million. These are both UVA technology spinouts, right? We work with them from soup to nuts, from forming the business. Should it be a C Corp? Should it be an LLC, right? Connecting them with vetted service providers in the community, to getting the pitch deck, to getting them in front of the investors, to making sure the financials are right. And then we have very early startups that are, trying to figure out, is my business concept going to work? And it could be a hairdresser, or it could be somebody with a lawn mowing service. We've been doing a lot of M&A. We've been helping people. I've got, 2 deals. We closed one for over $2 million where somebody just bought a business to expand their existing business. And there's another business purchase for $4 million that's on the table right now in Albemarle County, right? So there's just so much happening at our office. It seems like there's nothing we don't do when it comes to helping small businesses. So there is a need for capacity. And, we would love to partner with you all in any way possible, and understand your vision, because the action is at CIC and Sbdc. It's busy. We're seeing literally hundreds of entrepreneurs. And we would welcome your input as to how we can best serve them, how we can build this. We're constantly developing new programs, new ideas. People want to form, a manufacturers group for young manufacturing entrepreneurs, right? We got together a group specifically for massage therapists during COVID because that was a unique challenge. So we had more than 30 massage therapists and developed a program specifically for them to deal with safety. So you can see, we can go down a lot of rabbit holes. We'd love your input on where you think the strongest needs are. Because we do try to stay focused, try to stay, high level, so we can serve as many as possible, as effectively as possible.
Well, I certainly think that, I think we need to be looking at what we can do in terms of support, because a lot of what you're doing is directly focused on the kinds of, building up those businesses in town that are, selling things to other places. That's the kind of business that Roger loves. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to grow those businesses. So I want to make sure we do what we can to support you, both by, encouraging Albemarle County support, but also by, I think, what the EDA can do as things proceed. So I certainly would be in favor of that.
Well,
Thanks,
you.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, I have a question, actually, sort of a random question. I'm from Scottsville, and we're constantly trying to figure out ways to revitalize the town. And I was wondering if you would consider working with us and the town of Scottsville being the product, and how do we promote the town and attract more businesses and those sorts of things. It's a little different from what you usually do, but I was wondering if you would consider doing something like that.
Absolutely. In fact, we did that with Orange County.
Really?
We did research for them. We got the GIS studies to see who's coming through the town. We got, median income, age, all of that information. So you know who your customers are.
Mhm.
And then we got them a team from UVA Propel.
Uh-huh.
And, each of those, I don't know if you all knew about that, but, there were teams of 50 students. There'd be 10 teams of 5 students, and they'd all attack the problem with creative solutions.
Uh-huh.
And that's a really fun thing to do, because they'll dig in on, what's the history of the town? What's the culture of the town? They'll talk to stakeholders and try to come up with some creative ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the UVA Propel program we did last summer, it's now become a signature course that's year round.
Uh-huh.
So we can keep tapping into that talent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a lot of that kind of work. The question that we're running into now is, how do we implement some of these things? So we've got lots of ideas, but we're sort of grappling with how do we take this idea and make it happen. So I guess we could use some of that, more of that operational kinds of assistance rather than the ideation type.
Okay. I guess I have to think about that, because,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought I'd bring it
The
up.
SBA doesn't allow us, well, we can work with nonprofits, but technically we're not supposed to.
Okay.
But we tend to find support, right? So
Okay.
we can, let's connect. That
Okay,
would be
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you,
All
Rebecca.
right, thanks for having me. It's good to see you all.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Roger, you want to give your report?
I do. JT, pull up the. Well, I guess we're going to jump right to Perron Robotics.
Okay.
Mostly we wanted to reiterate and thank the EDA for supporting what you originally knew as Project Night Raider, later became the Avenue project, where there was an autonomous shuttle halfway driven in Crozet. It was autonomous, but we put a driver behind there for safety reasons. And I think you may have heard about this or read about it in the Daily Progress, and maybe even mentioned it before, but Perron Robotics actually had a $10 million capital infusion as a result of that particular project. There was a direct connection between the investor and the funding. I wanted to mostly to make you aware that our team is currently working with Paul Perron and his new VP to find them a home in Albemarle County. We are actively looking for sites, working with different developers and or landowners to find a good site for them to build a test track and perhaps put their shop and headquarters at the same location. Again, just reiterating that some of the work this authority did has resulted in concrete and objective positive results. Any questions about Perron before I move on?
We have a empty factory in Scottsville. We'd love to have them check out if that's under consideration at all.
It's on our radar screen, Stuart. We don't really talk about individual properties. I'll just say we're aware that the highest population in our county. There was an announcement recently that came out from the federal OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. There wasn't much fanfare made, but I wanted to make this authority aware of it because it could have an economic impact on our community. The statisticians who do the census data has recommended that those metropolitan statistical areas that have a core city of less than 100,000 population be downgraded from a metropolitan statistical area to a micropolitan statistical area. And while they have purported that this doesn't impact federal funding in any way, I just wanted to share with you a couple of experiences that I have and give you an opportunity to weigh in on your thoughts as well. While metropolitan statistical areas are not supposed to impact federal grant funding, the data that they pull together is utilized by investors, by site selectors, by retailers, by commercial entities, and other financial folks who use the data to begin the mining process of finding locations for investments and or shops and or all kinds of different services are provided. So if we move from a metropolitan statistical area to a micropolitan statistical area, it may in fact not hurt our grants for roads or community development, but there will be an ancillary or even a tertiary impact where people will look at the data of those areas first and not necessarily dig down far enough to find out about our particular community. I actually had this happen when I was in Wilmington, North Carolina, where they looked at the traffic patterns on 17 South and found that there was the preponderance of traffic heading from North Carolina down to the Myrtle Beach area. Everyone who lived down there understood that the adjoining county actually lived, played, and worked in Wilmington, North Carolina, but the data showed there was more traffic heading to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So they moved Brunswick County into a different metropolitan statistical area. As a result of that, when the state put out RFPs for companies to locate, they wanted certain metropolitan statistical area sizes in order to qualify. And on a couple occasions, our MSA no longer qualified. So there are ancillary and tertiary impacts to the downgrading of a metropolitan statistical area. It's really hard to prove a negative. I can't tell you what opportunities we may miss, but for me, I would articulate it as saying, we won't have our name on the ballot to be voted on. And so I'd like, to just share those thoughts with you all, solicit your feedback, see if you agree with those assertions. In a fair and comprehensive way, I would also like to report there are some communities who may actually lean into being a micro statistical area in that they're just going to say, we're different because of that. Come to a smaller community, come be part of what we do. So there are different folks who have a different perspective on that. I just wanted to share a holistic preview and maybe gather your thoughts to see if this is something we ought to weigh in on as an Economic Development Authority. So I'll pause there and listen to comments.
Roger, I guess my only question would be, do we have any control over it? I mean, can we say, because we don't do eminent domain and we have a large urban area, obviously the Albemarle County urban ring, so we meet the definition of the SMSA. This is
we meet the definition of the MSA, but Charlottesville doesn't have 100,000 in population.
I know, it's such a fine point. Yeah, it's so annoying.
To answer your question directly, the Office of Management and Budget has opened up a website where we can solicit feedback between now and Friday the 19th. And then secondarily, there's probably a secondary way we could do this in that we could write a letter stating our position to the federally elected officials who represent our community. And I can't remember, I think there's 3 off the top of my head that we would have to write that letter. Obviously, we have an existing MOU with the Board of Supervisors, so we couldn't move forward without their concurrence. It would require them to also agree with anything this particular authority wishes to do.
Roger, I think we should definitely do something like that. I don't know if it'll move the needle, but it can't hurt.
Sure.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Roger, is it just solely because Charlottesville, the city of Charlottesville, doesn't have a population of 100,000 that we're in danger of losing?
Yes, sir.
Nation?
Yes, sir.
You should realize that there are only 2 states in the United States that have the kind of system that Virginia does. And that is in all the other 48 states. At least that was the case 15 years ago. And I'm just taking a wild guess.
It still is, Jim. Yeah.
All the 48 states, you'll find that cities are encompassed within counties, while Virginia has this unique structure where counties are completely separate political entities from cities. And I'm not sure if OBM statistics take that into account. I know they don't.
They don't. No.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we should qualify if we were considered as a standard or the typical designation where the counties and the cities are combined. And I don't think that would be a hard point to press, really. On the other hand, if they're going to be strict about city size and population, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, I think, Roger, you have very eloquently talked about how our mission here, particularly compared to other places, is more in line with helping existing businesses do what they can do better and prosper and so forth. And I don't see where it would alter that course of action in any dramatic way. This would probably come into play, as you suggest, with the recruitment of new businesses, potentially new businesses. And probably what the OMB has in mind is that it's all about an exercise in fitting. Smaller places have smaller capacity generally. There are historical circumstances where that's not the case, and they've lost a factory, for example, or whatnot. But we're not in that boat. We're probably in many ways brushing up against our capacity, size-wise. So.
Yeah, Dave, the only thing I would be concerned about, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I would want to make sure, though, that this didn't somehow, and I know Roger qualified it by saying it shouldn't affect transportation dollars, it shouldn't affect dollars, but I always have that little part of me that goes, once they retitle you and you're not paying attention, all of a sudden, some of those federal dollars you may not get your fair crack at.
Well, Kat, that's one of the biggest arguments you hear from other folks is it may not affect federal funding today, but if you reclassify them, you don't know what the future holds, and if they're going to separate grants for metropolitan statistical areas and micropolitan statistical areas. So it may be true today that it doesn't impact it, but there's no guarantee that the future will hold true to that.
I agree with that concern.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee we'll have a federal government in 10 years.
Well, there's truth to that, but.
George, here on James Madison's birthday, I think you have to take that back.
I take that back.
So, all right. Well,
I don't mind offending anybody on here except Kat.
So I don't know if we need to take any further comment or not. I mean, obviously, this is something that will be at the will of the board to weigh in on, but certainly your input would be shared with the board should we decide to do something. I don't know that there's a consensus. I can't see everyone. Do we need to poll everyone, or is this something that you think you could support at the board?
I would propose that we simply be watchful and see what it implies and what this portends. I don't think there's a clear-cut analysis on which we can rely to say yes or no one way or the other. There could be compelling reasons to make the change. It's too hard to tell.
Yeah, well, the reasons they put in the report and at the actual federal level was that the last time they set the boundaries was in 1960 or so, and so it's 50 years old. And now there's been a gravitation towards cities, and they wanted to statistically change that factor to consider to a more modern standard. So it was really a statistical change they wanted to make. And I was purporting that the potential negative impacts outweigh the need of statisticians to change their formulas.
Yeah, I think now is the time to speak up, because once they take an action, it's awfully hard to reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. And I think Jim and David spoke well to the fact that we are kind of an exception in terms of how this is typically classified when you look at cities and counties. So, I mean, that to me says that they're not looking apples to apples when they're evaluating us, at least.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that ought to be, that particular issue especially needs to be brought forward so that we're at least treated the same as other similarly situated localities.
And then we can always propose reversions everywhere, right, Jim?
Right.
Okay.
That would be my preference.
I brought this up at the Board of Supervisors meeting the other night, and Doug indicated he was looking into it. Doug, I don't know if you have anything to add. I'm as well.
Yeah, Roger had brought it to my attention, and this is actually a kind of a more full-throated explanation to the EDA about what his research is uncovering. I think that where we go from here is we'll consider, drafting something for the board to consider. Just that we can present it to them with, some, what sounds like, if I know we're not asking for a vote, but it certainly sounds like there's interest from the EDA, if not overwhelming or consensus support. There's certainly interest in trying to understand how we can maintain our current status.
And just as a matter of reference, the U.S. Chamber has also reached out to our local chamber to talk about bringing this to their attention to see if they want to take a stance on their opinion as it relates to the metropolitan versus micropolitan statistical areas. So, all right, it may not be a consensus here, but I would say the larger volume I heard of feedback was let's do something now. So I'll work with the county exec's office and see if we can get something in front of the board for consideration. And I'll give you guys an update as it progresses.
Roger, do you have a handle on how many MSAs might be converted under this proposal?
344. Maybe JT can find the website and pull that up, or Jennifer, I'm not sure who's running, but there were 3 in Virginia. It was Blacksburg, Charlottesville, and Stanton, I believe. Was Stanton the third, Jennifer?
Stanton and I believe Harrisonburg and Winchester.
And I will also say there tended to, a large percentage of these tended to be in places there was a town and gown relationship. Corvallis, Oregon, Boise, Idaho. I'm doing this off of memory, so I won't be able to articulate all of them. It just seemed they had a lot of commonality.
Well, you know, there's a distinct possibility with that many that it becomes a positive attribute.
Yeah, some people are leaning into it.
And, you know, particularly if a company is searching for favorable real estate circumstances and they understand off the cuff that the bigger places are going to have more expensive real estate, they may start their search with the 344, you know, and then winnow it down from there. So, yeah, I don't know.
Roger, do you understand that if you go to North Carolina, you could have Harrisonburg and its suburbs and it would not be on the list, it would be included?
Right.
Wow, how about that?
Well, that's because we're the other, I just wanted to make sure you realize what I was saying. We're the one of 2 states where they have a dichotomy between cities and counties. Everybody else, the city includes the surrounding county in population count for federal purposes.
144, not 344. Thank you, JT.
All right.
I've pasted a link to this article in the chat for our meeting to all panelists and attendees. And this graphic about halfway down the article is interactive, so you can scroll over individual cities and see which ones are potentially impacted.
Hi, Bismarck.
All right. Any other comments on this? I think we can move along to closed session. Should I go ahead and I've got it in front of me, so I can go ahead and, or does somebody else want to make the motion? I'll do it. I'll make the motion. How about that? I move that the Albemarle County Economic Development Authority go into a closed meeting as authorized by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia under subsection 5 to discuss and consider prospective businesses or industries and expansion of an existing business where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding their facilities in the community, to wit, the location and development of Project Leopard in Albemarle County. And to subsection 6, to discuss and consider investment of public funds where bargaining is involved related to proposed amendments to an existing performance agreement where, if made public initially, the financial interests of the authority and the county would be adversely affected, to wit, the performance agreement and VCHIP match grant agreement with Willow Tree. Is there a second?
I second motion.
All right, Stuart second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And we'll move into closed session.
And that's in the chat, correct, Jennifer?
Yes.
Did we lose?
Looks like we lost Roger and JT and Richie. It also, Jennifer, looks like we're still recording. Is that the case?
While we wait for everybody to get in.
Hold on, yes.
Don, we lost a whole bunch.
It's like Gilligan's Island. They're gone.
You guys have not left the
That's what I thought,
public
yeah.
meeting. You
Oh,
need
we
to click
gotta
in the
go.
chat and you will go into closed session.
Thank you.
Where do we go, chat?
I'm not.
Chat's not coming up.
I can email it to you, Jim, if you need me to.
Well, I'm hitting my chat and it's not coming up. What's it supposed to do?
It should
Well,
pop up.
I saw the link earlier. I didn't realize what it was.
I just sent it again. Did it pop
I
up for you
see it in
guys?
front of me.
There she is. All right, George.
What am I supposed to do?
Do you see the chat function anywhere?
Yeah, I clicked on it.
Okay, you should pop out. So click on it again and it may ask you a question.
It put links on my screen.
Okay, then click on the link.
There are 3 of them.
That's because I sent it 3 times.
Is it okay?
Do you need me to email it to you?
Yeah, I think I cut us off. Yeah, please.
Okay. George is on his way over. Okay. Okay, it just came. You should receive it in your email. So you may need to close this one.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Ray, click on the chat and the link in the chat, and you will return back to the meeting.
This is the most stressful thing I've done all day.
This is actually the most secure way. I don't know if you guys did see the Planning Commission in, I think it was Petersburg, got hijacked from a public meeting. So this is the only way to ensure a secure link back and forth.
Well, certainly if I was going to try and scam something, or I would not put myself through all that stress. There must be an easier way to do it. So I get that.
Anthony, have you been home today?
I'm sorry.
Have you been home today?
Actually, I was gone a portion of the day, but I know exactly what you're talking about and we got it.
Okay, good.
Thank you for dropping it off. I appreciate it. Yes.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start. I move that the EDA certify by recorded vote that to the best of each director's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting.
So I'll call roll. Director Long,
Aye.
Director Ray,
Not here yet.
not here yet. Director Shreve,
Aye.
Director Munson,
Aye.
Director Imhoff,
Aye.
and Director McNaughton.
Aye.
All right. So, all right. Any other business that we need to consider? Or anything anybody wants to bring up?
I guess I just mentioned, I know the County Board of Supervisors is going to be taking up soon the plan for the comp plan update. It's not looming on the schedule, but at some point I think it'd be important to know where, if we're going to get a chance to comment on the economic development section of the comp plan through that process. So just wanted to raise that.
All right. All right. Well, if nobody has any, Roger, you have anything?
No, sir.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I thought that was a really good discussion. I think we came up with some good things that I certainly hadn't thought of. So I guess we will see everyone in a month.
Thank you very much.
Have a good
Take
evening.
care.
Thanks,
Take care, y'all.
everybody.
Stay healthy.
Goodbye, all.
Bye-bye, guys
Bye.
and ladies.